welcome to Booktopia TV. It's quite a solemn occasion because I'm here with Generation Y, who are charged as being a bunch of impatient upstarts with no concentration. They're charged with being self-centred, selfie-focused, entitled, smartphone-enabled, no political tryhards. You show no loyalty, Gen Y, political nous, and a bunch of slacktivists. Representing Generation Y, I have editor of Understanding Why, Charlie Caruso. Charlie, how do you plead?
I plead guilty. I think quite a lot of those, unrefutable is Gen Y, but we're also lots of awesome things as well. And not all of those that you said are just Gen Y either.
Charlie, tell me about the book Understanding Why.
Well, the book was written by 15 of the world's leading commentators, basically awesome people that came together and really gave some perspective about who Generation Y are. There's a lot of stereotypes and myths and misperceptions that surround Generation Y, and the reality is we've just got to get over putting people in boxes and just move forward. But until organisations can have a better understanding of context as to why people behave the way they do, I felt that there was a need to write a book that just sort of gave the background story, in the hope that they could just sort of see these young people for who they are and the potential that they are, and hopefully, you know, in the workforce they can be a bit more cohesive and work together collaboratively.
And who are some of the authors that you've got on board?
Oh, there's so many. Bernard Salt, obviously, he starts it off as Australia's leading demographer. We've got Leanne Hall, who is currently the health and wellbeing expert on the living room. We've got Professor Mary Quigley, who's the professor at NYU. There's genuinely 15, so it's, yeah, I'm going to have, do you want me to go through all of them? Because they're all amazing. There's two in particular that I could mention.
Well, I know you've got one that's involved in entrepreneurship. So apparently he's an expert witness in this case against Generation Y.
Yes, I will bring him forward as a character testimony. But I'm going to say your name wrong, I can guarantee you that, because that's a Gen Y thing, we kind of don't do that so well. So Paul Lange.
That's good.
It is?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Who I'm very privileged to have contributed to the book.
So Paul, Gen Y and entrepreneurism, explain, is like, besides Zuckerberg, what else have they done?
What? Yeah, listen, some of the richest people in the world are already Gen Y. I think Gen Y is probably one of the most entrepreneurial generations that's been since the Industrial Revolution. You know, you look at what Gen X, and they pretty much just raped and pillaged and burnt the wealth that their parents built up. But Gen Y is out there. They're doing great things.
So I'm just taking a note to rape, pillage, parental wealth. So, as a bitter Gen Xer that I am. But look, if you look at, say, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is the poster boy for Gen Y entrepreneurship, and his whole level of development is self-centered.
Yeah, listen, I think what it is with Gen Y, obviously I'm not Gen Y myself, but what it is with Gen Y is they're lacking leadership, they're lacking an organised prior generation who can provide them with inspiration. They're failing to find inspiration themselves, and that's fine, but there's no real great inspiration out there from the current generations. So they have to go out and they have to find themselves, they have to make things happen themselves, and that's what they're doing. You know, Zuckerberg, well, you know, maybe we shouldn't talk about him. I think it's time for him to step down. But he just doesn't realise it yet, you know. But you look at the other businesses that are going out there, you know, WhatsApp, things like that. Okay, Zuckerberg bought WhatsApp, so perhaps that's not a good example. Nonetheless, you look all around you. I see it in my business every day. I get more young people approaching me with businesses that they want to start up, they want to have investment, they want to, more so than Gen X or baby boomers.
Okay, so we're all involved in businesses in various levels. Gen Y, and Charlotte, if you want to answer this, or Paul, you can answer this. Why do they cause such turmoil in the workforce?
You want to go?
I don't think they do. I think there's just a little bit of a...
Start something and they resign.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're working for people that are, you know, behind the times, that are unable to embrace disruption or innovation, I think, why would they stay?
Yeah.
You know, it's I find it really frustrating when people argue that Gen Y or any generation should be particularly loyal to a company, because one, there's no evidence that that actually goes both ways. And we live in a time where we are having to rethink business, all business models, because they're not surviving. You can complain that you want to give, I think I wrote an article about it, you can complain about giving stale candy, or you want, but the businesses that are more able to sort of look at what the tastes are of the new generation and sort of tailor everything to them to get the best and most talented young people, they're the ones that are the smarter ones. And you can give out and complain what you want, but in the end you'll be left behind pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've got three things to say. One is that firstly, people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter whether you're Gen X, Gen Y, baby, whatever. You don't leave a job, you leave the person who's leading, because you usually go lateral if you're in a job. Let's be honest, and jobs just don't broke, as we all know. Secondly, is that this whole moving around jobs, for me, is an evolutionary thing. If you look at past generations, really older generations, maybe say one job, maybe two jobs, and there was a few more jobs. And my parents maybe had 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 9 jobs. Now, I've had 2 jobs and been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, right? But the average person in my generation has had multiple jobs. Now, it's just natural progression, it's natural evolution of the species that they would have multiple jobs. That's the other thing. And, it was actually the third thing I was going to say. That's I can't remember what it was. That's probably my generation's problem with Alzheimer's. It'll come back to me.
All right. So, Charlie, Generation Y, these misspent millennials, can't even be bothered reading a book. What do you say about that?
I say you're wrong and you know it.
All right, I do know, because I actually wrote the chapter on on book reading, and what surprised me about the reading habits of Generation Y is they, in fact, are the most well-read generation that there ever has been. I cite 3 book series as evidence: Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and the Twilight series. But especially Harry Potter. One of the interesting things about the Gen Y as well is that the books they were weaned on, they were weaned in the narrative space, where traditional beginning to end, and then the rise of the choose your own adventure books really hit home when they were growing up. And I think, Charlie, you made this point to me that why Gen Y really like the choose your own adventure series is they got to choose their own ending, and I think it's symptomatic of the whole generation themselves. So they are a very well-read generation, but do they have the patience to read long books is my question.
Well, I mean, you have to look at book sales. I don't think that I'm necessarily the most qualified person, but I mean, we've also got to look at the latest trends of consumption of any sort of media, and I, for one, find it a luxury, a much enjoyed luxury, but one that I don't get to spend as much time doing as I'd like, is physically reading. So for me to consume the amount of books that I like to, it's usually done via audiobooks or in another way that I can consume quickly. Ebooks are useful for that, because you can sort of bookmark them and you can have like 100 on one device and take that device. So it's more, we've changed the way that we've consumed because of how fast-paced environment that we're living in and how quickly we want to consume content. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just it's a byproduct of our lifestyle, and I think that's all Gen Y are. We're a byproduct of the lifestyle that we were sort of brought up in.
And as a final message, as final defence, even though you have pleaded guilty, a final defence of Generation Y.
I think that all of those things that we're thrown at are true to a certain degree of young people. That people tend to grow up. That also a lot of those accusations are applicable to all generations, and that there are 900 million Gen Y. And people forget that when you start putting anyone in a box, it needs to be a pretty goddamn big box. It's a crazy idea to try and say Gen Y are this, because everyone's unique and different. And I hope that what the book will show is just a generation of people that have a lot of hope, and we're really, and not all, because we're all from different parts of the world and different experiences, but hopefully are the answer to a lot of our problems. We just got to get along with everyone else, and hopefully, by understanding Generation Y a bit better, other generations can sort of let go of those stigmas and stereotypes, and leverage Gen Y for the talent that they are.
There you are. You're Generation Y. You're sentenced to buying a book from Booktopia. Thank you for appearing on Booktopia TV.
No,
Paul,
my pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you.
Understanding Why is now available at booktopia.com.au.